I am putting in the recording. Ignore me as I sit here and stretch. It's been a long day, been running around. But I wanted to take today's pillar and focus on nutrition because we haven't done that one in a while. And as I sit back here and just chill, I just want to say, I'm really proud of everybody that's doing what they can to improve themselves. I too am going to readjust with that because I've kind of been lazy lately. It's that time of year where, a lot of emotions come up and you work through things and just, that's just the way things go. So, as we get past this past Memorial Day, thinking about the people and honoring those that have gone before us with all the different things that are going on in the world, we just got to take a moment to remember those people that we have shared our lives with and spent time with and been all over the world. Uh, and unfortunately, they're not here to celebrate with us uh, or their families' losses as well. So I want to take that with a grain of salt. And then from that, we're going to move into pillar one, which is our body and how we have to deal with nutrition. So dump a note in the chat. What was the healthiest thing you've eaten over the last week? Because I am not the best at it. However, I just want to let you know I do my best when I can. For instance, today I had some cottage cheese and a small little egg and cheese wrap for breakfast. And then as a late lunch, early dinner, I made myself a barbecue chicken and rice, cilantro, green onion spring roll. It was very tasty. I actually was pretty surprised. So if you haven't tried those, the rice paper wraps, they're pretty easy to work with. It's just getting the right amount of water on them so that you can make them flexible and work with it. That way you can get the good stuff in there. But you got all these different things that you focus on when you're trying to eat healthy. And there's all these people that have all of these different online entertainment that you can watch and learn to cook and make things. And I've been doing that myself for the last couple weeks. And my neighbors have had the opportunity to experience my ability to cook, which again floors them from time to time. I'm not surprised. I've been cooking since I was a little kid, so not an issue there. But I would say let's focus on what you can do for you based on your appetite. That's first. Second, I want to talk about supplements and detox. And that can go multiple different ways. You have your gut detox, you have a kidney detox, you have liver detox. And they're all affected differently, but they all support each other. And please forgive me, I keep touching my face a lot. Skin's very dry today, um, even though it's humid out. I won't promote anything that I don't try myself first. So I started a new protocol yesterday, more to follow on that, and that's within the supplement realm, taking a supplement, but it's based on an all natural item called soursop. And it's spelled exactly how it sounds, SOURSOP. It's been around for a couple thousand years, and it's to help with the digestive tract and get rid of all the ingrown buddies that are hanging around that you don't really necessarily want that cause the bloating and the visceral fat that gets stuck in there, especially if you have a very slow digestive tract. I'm not going to get into it, but if you're not passing the bad things out of your body at least once a day, you need to look into making sure that you get additional supplements into your system. Key ones would be the soursop or black walnut wormwood, as well as not necessarily additional fiber, because sometimes people have the adverse effect with fiber, which actually constipates you, which is not good. Again, more water. Speaking of which, give me half a second. Let me grab my bottle. Because if you're not hydrating, you're not doing good. You got to hydrate. You got to do that every day. And other little silly things like I bought myself a copper bottle. I don't know if you there you go. I have a copper bottle. It actually it helps with the copper ionization in the water. You let it sit overnight. I keep it in the fridge. I like it a little cooler. And that's another process called oligo, and that is a transfer of copper ions into the water that's inside the bottle. But the digestive tract is extraordinarily important. You got to keep everything flowing, right? And if you have a hard time passing, or if you have really watery passing, that's not good. There's something wrong with your gut. So you got to fix the gut. Everything leads from the gut. So whatever you put in this hole that doesn't come out the other hole is everything that's being utilized in your body. And when you're utilizing the most important things, i.e., protons, geez, Louise, proteins, proteins, and starches, and the right vitamins, and if you want to start getting crazy and adding into the different supplements and stuff like that, the probably two biggest ones that we lack in general are magnesium and zinc. If you want to you got to get the good stuff though. It's like magnesium glyphosate. I think that's the right one. If not, I'll correct myself later. But that is the most important one. That actually helps with the digestion and getting things moving. So if you've seen like milk of magnesia, or if you get one of those the bottles at the grocery store that you can take to help you get things moving, that's got a lot of magnesium. You can also get a food grade Epsom salt, which is pure magnesium. You only need, ready? Only need 4 teaspoons to 64 ounces of water. That's it. And that will get everything moving. The other thing is if you want to go into like a liver detox, that's a little bit a longer process. I have one that I use that's approximately 8 days. And it gets into detail. If you're interested in it, let me know, reach out to me and I'll provide that information to you. It is something that you have to buy into. But once you have it for life. So I actually have access to it. I don't know if I'll turn that into one of my protocols on here, but I highly recommend doing your own research and look into your different organs and different detoxes. Getting rid of heavy metals and not the music, which my neighbor can attest. I am a metalhead, even though she says she doesn't know she doesn't know it. However, every time I send her something, she knows a lot of the music. So I don't believe her not knowing metal. Anyway, the heavy metals in our body, you know where I stand with all the chemical spraying, just in general over our food, overhead. You have to detox all that stuff. And the ones that penetrate the skin most are aluminum. So highly recommend, look at your antiperspirants. Make sure it doesn't have aluminum because it's really bad for you. Because it actually attacks at the cellular level. There are other things that get into the blood-brain barrier that actually pass through the blood-brain barrier, which can be toxic and fatal, obviously in large amounts. However, do your research on that. I've done enough, but I can't speak intelligently to it, but I am aware of it. So I do a lot of detox with that, believe it or not, with cilantro. So if you like ceviche, or if you can add it into your salads, cilantro is great for you. It's 100% natural too, but you got to make sure it's cleaned and all that good stuff before you eat it. Highly recommend a good farmer's market that you can go to. Don't just buy the regular stuff off the grocery shelf, because as we know, conspiracy theorists say, and I'll leave it at that. The different types of protein is totally up to you. I am a red meat fan. If you are a white meat fan, i.e., chicken, turkey, fish, awesome. But don't forget to add in the fatty meats, which, believe it or not just salmon. You can get duck, which has very high fat. Veal has high fat. Pork depends on the cut. Sometimes it does, most times it won't because it's cleaned up properly. But there are a lot of other high fatty, your omega 3 types of proteins that you can utilize. And then, as I said, vegetables and all that type of good stuff and fruits. Now, what I've learned through all of my own studying and education, the darker the fruit and the vegetable, the better off it is. So it has, like, for instance, berries, raspberries, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries have very high antioxidant capabilities. So they push a lot of that stuff. The less of the color it has, the less nutrients it has. Iceberg lettuce. Everybody loves to have a nice crunchy salad. Well, iceberg lettuce really it has not much value when you're eating it. So that's why a lot of times they say get your dark leafy greens like arugula and spring mixes and stuff like that have that darker color and texture because it has a lot more vitamins in it. And then if you want to get crazy, start doing some smoothies. You get into the smoothies with all kinds of different stuff. Me personally, I try to avoid mixing specific fruits together, like bananas and blueberries. They're counterproductive to each other. They should be done separately. You should do berries more with berries, and then depending on what type of sweetness you like or tartness, because a lot of times, for instance, if you get strawberries that are a little, I don't want to call them raw, but not through their total gestation, they're kind of bitter. So you can add sweeteners like stevia or monk fruit. They're not as strong as, for instance, a pineapple. Pineapple is great for you. It's fantastic. And I just learned recently that the core, which you don't normally buy, like unless you buy an actual pineapple and you core it yourself, the core has triple the amount of all of the vitamins that you would get in the ring that you would normally get that's in the cans that you would buy. So you can also, I eat it straight, like I'll slice up my pineapple and I'll just eat the whole disc, including the center. It doesn't bother me at all. And then if you want to get into like all the other crazy stuff, save the skins for composting. If you take a cucumber, for instance, and you peel a cucumber or pear, whatever you want to call it, and save that, soak it in water overnight, you can utilize that as the watering on your plants because the phosphate comes out of the the polyphenols come out of the skin into the water, and the water actually has the extra fertilizer essentially in there. So when you're done with it, you take off the skins and throw them into the compost pile. And then we just recycle in the compost, and as you use the compost, you put that back out over top of your vegetables, and it's getting even more nutrients. So just some food for thought later, literally food for thought. What else? Drop any questions in the chat box because I'm just off the cuff tonight, just freestyle and just trying to put out as much information as I can, especially for your nutrition. And then as it gets a little later on, we'll run through a quick little rundown of a daily nutrition checklist, as well as some meal prep ideas. Little dry in the throat. What I want to do is I want to try and pull up one of my slides from the classroom. Oh, wrong screen. And we can talk about how nutrition stands out as some of the most important things because you need to keep your body in tip-top shape, right? So that performance is especially critical because with the body pillar, if you don't start with you taking care of your body, you are never going to get any of the other pillars to line up. Without that alignment, you will not be successful. And I'm not saying that to be a party pooper. You really need to focus on your body. And like I said, it starts in the gut. Because if you don't focus on your gut, you are not going to do well. So what I'm going to do is share my screen right now. And as I do that, I want you to check out this slide because it is amazing. Okay. Right here, we have what I call the Right Now Toolkit. It's an immediate stress reliever. Okay. If you're not taking care of yourself with your food and you're not making sure that you can shut your stress down, you'll automatically feel in your gut the burn that causes stress. Like I said before, your heart rate's going to go up. You're going to start to sweat. You're going to stress more and more and more. Breathing is the number one thing. And we've talked about that. I don't need to elaborate on that. The grounding is a way of doing it as well. When you do your grounding, I personally like going to the beach. I had that opportunity today, had a meeting in Clearwater and got an opportunity after the meeting to go and walk on the beach as well as get my feet in the water. It was fantastic. And the best part about it was there was a small pod of dolphins that swam within 30 feet of where I was at, right in front of me. And they were swimming around the people that were already in the water. It was awesome. So the key thing here, the center of the slide, if you look at it, consistent morning rituals. You have to do them. If you don't do them, for instance, when you wake up in the morning, obviously you got to go to the bathroom, blah, blah, blah. Drink a small 8-ounce cup of water without hesitation, first thing in the morning. Prefer filtered water. That's just me. And I have 2 little small copper cups as well. So I drink that first thing in the morning. Next thing is meditation. At least 15 minutes. After that 15 minutes, I take about another 5-10 minutes of just breathing and staying calm and try and move around a little bit because of the back issues and all that stuff. Next thing I do, boom, go grab the other cup of copper water, drink that down. Stay calm, relax, and then I'll get ready to move around a little bit more. Sometimes I go outside and I walk around a little bit. I'll come back in, boom, I'll drink some more water. So you got to get that water in as much as you can first thing in the morning, because as the day progresses, you're going to have stress. That stress is going to heat up your core. You're going to sweat more. And the more you sweat, the more you need to hydrate. There's all kinds of apps out there that give you reminders that you need to drink, your water throughout the day. And every time you drink water when you first wake up, it helps with the digestion, which goes back to the very beginning of tonight. The digestion starts to move first thing in the morning. So if you can drink 3 cups of water first thing in the morning within the first 30 minutes to 45 minutes of you waking up, and I say 3 cups, that's 8 ounces, okay, each. It's 24 ounces of water. It sounds like a lot, but it's about this much water. It's half of this bottle, okay, just to take into perspective. But you should have at least the amount of ounces that you are in your own weight. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to round up because I'm not 200 pounds. But if I'm taking 200 pounds as my number, I would drink 200 ounces of water throughout the day. Okay? So take that into consideration. For every pound is 1 ounce of water. So, if you're 128 pounds, that's a gallon of water, 128 ounces. It's very important. Again, key thing is to focus on your digestion. If you don't do that, you're going to get backed up. If you get backed up, next thing you know, you're going to have to go either get the hospital give you an IV to pump you up, or you go to a hydrotherapy person. But they're going to tell you, hey, listen, you got to do this first before you come in here. That way you can break stuff loose. Because believe it or not, you end up having the inner lining of all of your small intestines and large intestines and your colon and everything get caked up. So you can't just go in there thinking, oh, let me drink some fiber and push my brains out. Well, guess what? That's the last thing you want to do, because like I said, some people the fiber affects them differently and it doesn't work. Or next thing you know, you're just running back and forth to the bathroom and your body tells you how it's working. If you're not, yeah, I'll just say, if you're not having a good solid pass, your body is in distress. If you have diarrhea at all, your body is in distress because there's blockages. You need to get that stuff moving and out of your body. That's where all the lower belly body fat comes from. The upper chest area where you get some aggravation, because everybody's colon is different. Okay? It starts over on the bottom right side by your hip where your appendix is and all that. That's the very bottom. Your appendix is like the garbage pit of garbage pits. That's why whenever your appendix bursts, you're in a bad spot, because all it is toxins from your whole entire lifetime. But you think about it, your stomach is let me try and get on the camera here. All right. You got, so here's the bottom of my breastplate, right? Your stomach is directly behind that and over to the right. So it's kind of right about here. Then you got the tube that comes back and goes into your small intestine. This is going through your 23 feet of small intestine in the middle of your stomach, over top of your spleen and your liver and in between your kidneys and all that good stuff. It's going through that whole process. Well, all the little cilia that are moving in there to get everything to push through, sometimes stuff gets stuck behind it. Now, you can't go in there with a freaking pressure washer and clean everything out, which would be fantastic. But that's why I'm trying this soursop stuff. And if that works out, I'll then promote it. But in the meantime, I got 30 days. I'm on day 2. So more to follow on that. But anyway, as you're going through your digestive tract, all that stuff, sometimes it just gets stuck there. Well, it's called mucoidal plaque. The mucoidal plaque then becomes like a thin barrier over top of all the cilia, right? So you're moving half as much instead of moving all of it, right? So you're moving half of it. Well, behind that mucoidal plaque is where everybody's hearing about it now, but that's where all the parasites go and they get stuck in there. And then you can kill off the adult, but then they lay eggs every freaking, what is it, every week or something like that. So they're laying 1 million eggs apiece. Okay? Just to give you perspective. Okay, we're going exaggeration a little bit right now. But when you do it right, you go through the cleanses. The cleanse in turn with binders, which is bentonite clay or activated charcoal. I mean, we can go that can be a whole other call in a couple weeks. I'll do. Actually, matter of fact, I will do that one. I'll push out the information what I do with my liver cleanse. But that being said, as you're going through all that stuff, if you don't use the right sequence of events, you will not be able to clean all that stuff out, which then keeps binding back up. And then, you see the people that wake up with the hangover, right? And I don't mean from drinking. I'm talking the hangover of their belt. Oh, that's all blocked guts that they haven't been able to clean out for years. Okay? So just take that into consideration, something to really think about. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to give you the information that I have found valuable to me. And like I've said 100 times before, I'm past my mid 50s. I hover at about 180 pounds. I do have a little bit of a belly on the lower end, but that's what I'm working on trying to get rid of. That will be gone by the middle of the summer. I promise you that. I will have my 6-pack back, and not the one that I carry like I normally do. That's the other part of it. I knew that, so I'm working on that. But with that being said, I think I've beat this up enough. And here's the other thing: if you can do any type of fasting, and what I mean by that is if you can do the 12-hour fast between meals at a minimum, for instance, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., 12-hour fast. Really shouldn't eat that late. I know people with their transportation back and forth from work nowadays, it's kind of hard. But if you can eat your dinner before 7 p.m., like be complete before 7 p.m., and hold off till at least 7 a.m. the next morning, you're doing great. If you can hold off longer than that, fantastic. I have one friend, he eats his dinner no later than 8 p.m., but he won't eat anything till the next day around 2 p.m. So he does about an 18-hour fast, and some days he'll do intermittent where he won't eat for a whole entire day. Man, he eats light, but he, on the meds that he has to take, it bloats him up and makes him look bigger than what he is. And it's a shame because he's like me. He's nonstop. He's constantly going, but he's got a lot of stress. Stress makes you hold on to, because it never knows when it's going to take care of itself as far as the fight or flight modes. So that's a lot of stuff to take into consideration. I spoke about a lot of things in 27 minutes. Key thing is figure out your diet. Get into a structured morning routine. Make sure that you follow it. Do your research on the different supplements that you need, not necessarily need, that you're interested in to help improve your digestion. Make sure you're eating the right foods that help promote that digestion, whether more fat, less fat, fruits, vegetables that promote that. I forgot avocados, super fantastic, fatty, good fat vegetable. If you don't like the texture, believe it or not, you ready for this? Half of an avocado in a smoothie, you never even know it's there. Goes right down with the rest of it. It's fantastic. Another quick hack: cut up an orange or lemons or limes, peel and all, and use those in your smoothie. There's more nutrients in the skin of those 3 citruses than you do from eating the whole fruit. Figured that one out. Just learned that myself recently. So I've been doing that. Tastes a little funny at first because you're not used to that tart skin. But if you go, perfect example, watch nature. Go to the zoo and watch the animals eat the food that they're given. Do they peel the skin off, or do they eat the skin as well? Think about that. Okay. Turtles, especially. Obviously, the primates. All the primates, it doesn't matter. And even some of the other animals. It's all skin on. Bananas included. So check it out. Next time you go to the zoo, that would be a recommendation. But just remember, you got to do what's good for you. If something is not working, stop, reset, do over. If you got to do a do over, write it down, document it. That way you know not to do it next time. That way you can move on and be in a better spot the next time. So with that, I hope everybody had something to learn today. And if you have any questions with regard to anything, let me know. I will be more than happy to do the research with you, not for you, with you, and find the best things that work for you. And I'll tell you what works for me, and I'll share that with you the more that I progress. I will be putting together a recipe book of some of the things that I make. Right now, I have some breakfast meals. I have some lunch and dinner meals. I even have some goodies, some chocolate, some brownies, some cookies, and a lot of them are super high protein. And I'm testing it on the neighbors, but they don't know it. and they actually are loving everything that I've been making so far. I think my favorite so far was, I made a mint chocolate chip cookie that tasted just like a Girl Scout Thin Mint, and it had 4 ingredients. That was it, and it was to die for. But anyway, that'll be in the cookbook, recipe book. And that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great night. I'm getting to go to another meeting after this. So you guys have a great night. And if you need anything in the meantime, shoot me a text message, drop a note in school, hit me up on social media, or just plain old text or phone call, and I will get back to you as fast as I can. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you Friday, 12:30 for Q&A, and then next Tuesday. Shoot me a note on what you want to hear next Tuesday, and we'll adjust fire as required. Otherwise, we'll be working on another pillar, and that'll probably be the being, which is spirituality and your connection with God. Have a great one. Take care. See you next week.